Fans didn't see this coming, but Ozzy Osbourne just dropped a sonic bomb. He is known for his crazy pranks and heavy metal legacy. Now the Prince of Darkness has finally named the 6 bands that had the most impact on him. From rock stars to unlikely losers, Ozzy's choices show a different side of the famous bat-biting figure. Who made the cut might surprise you. Rolling Stones. At the time, it didn't make much of a sound. In a dirty Birmingham subway, 3 young artists would meet and become friends. This would change the course of heavy metal forever. Imagine a young Ozzy Osbourne, who was still trying to figure out his voice and his future, walking with Black Sabbath bassist Geezer Butler through the dark Birmingham subway lines. They were still not sure about their thoughts, and the city was dark and sooty. Then, they met Robert Plant, who seemed to appear out of nowhere. Plant said something in a relaxed and humble way that would be remembered for a long time. He had just been asked to join the New Yardbirds. At the time, it sounded more like a small blues project than the start of a huge musical explosion. Butler and Osbourne had no idea that Plant was about to help start Led Zeppelin, which would become one of the most powerful and influential rock bands of all time. But Ozzy could not get that comment out of his mind. It was like a barbed hook. After a few weeks, Ozzy was hit hard by the Led Zeppelin eye drop. It wasn't just a good album. The heavy blues sound, the fast-paced rhythm section, and Plant's powerful singing made it great. It was a shot to warn. It was clear that rock music had reached a new level. They would have to go further, darker, and more dangerous than anyone else if Sabbath wanted to be important. Since then, Ozzy has said that the first Zeppelin songs had a seismic effect. He once said that it changed everything. I watched someone as blown away by the sound, the vibe, and the confidence. It wasn't just motivation, though. It was also fear. Ozzy struggled with an unpleasant truth behind closed doors. He was not able to do what Plant did. He wasn't that mighty golden godlike figure. He didn't have the same easy sexiness or beautiful voice. So Ozzy made a big change. Ozzy didn't try to match Plant note for note. He made his own path. He leaned into his creepy nasal tone. He liked doom, gloom, and acting out. Sabbath dug into the ground where Zeppelin touched the sky. Ozzy and his friends called on fear, dread, and the supernatural instead of sex and mysticism. They made a scary sound that was thick, sludgy, and scary, the kind of music that scared people as well as entertained them. Music writers are still not sure how much of this change was caused by reactions. Some people say that Sabbath's sound was always going to be the way it was because they came from a blue-collar background. It was enough that they liked scary movies and didn't like peace and loved flower power. But some say that meeting on the train was the spark that started it all. At that moment, Ozzy knew he was not Robert Plant and never would be. The fear of being ignored turned into fuel for creativity. Sabbath made Paranoid, Master of Reality, and Vulner 4 to add to their evil. Records that weren't just like Zeppelin's magic, but created a whole new genre, heavy metal. Plant may have danced with the gods, but Ozzy threw them to hell, which the fans loved. In a beautiful twist, both people liked each other. After many years, Plant would praise Sabbath's addition to music, stating that their heavy sound had taken rock to places Zeppelin never dared to go. Ozzy, on the other hand, loved Zeppelin all the time. He joked, "I love Robert Plant singing a Led Zeppelin song in concert, and then I get a text from him telling me to buy more milk." It was a funny way to remember that gods and people live in the same world. If you listen to Motorhead, you'll hear a partnership that was so rough and unstable that it almost never happened. It wasn't just a meeting of minds when Ozzy Osbourne and Lemmy Kilmister, lead singer of Motorhead, joined forces. It was a full-on musical explosion. The two artists almost broke up before they even started working together, but their anger, chaos, and pride almost kept them together. Together, they made some of the most famous rock songs of the 1990s. The story starts in 1991 when Ozzy's No More Tears record was being made, which was a rough time. In that moment, Ozzy was dealing with inner demons, pressure from the music business, and growing worries that the material for the record wasn't good enough. Insiders at the studio said it was tense and hard to concentrate. Ozzy was getting more and more upset that there weren't any catchy hooks on the record, and his team was afraid it would not do well. Lemmy then stepped in. At that time, Lemmy Most knew Lemmy Kilmister as the gruff rebel behind Motorhead, better known for his wild lifestyle than his skill as a lyricist. But under the leather and Jack Daniels was a creative mind that knew a lot about rock's feelings. After Ozzy's team reached out, Lemmy did what he knew how to do. He threw himself into the job with no pretense and all fire. Everyone in the room was shocked by what came next. Lemmy did more than just help write a few lines. He changed the whole record. His contributions to lyrics were nothing less than magical. Most of the album's hits, like Mama, I'm Coming Home, I Don't Want to Change the World, and Desire, were written with him. Each of these songs had his characteristic grit and thought, and Ozzy's unique voice went well with them all. Hellraiser was one of the best songs, and it was written so strongly that both Ozzy and Motorhead recorded their own versions of it. It was a rare and almost surreal event when two acts had hits with the same song at the same time. But while the music was great, the politics going on behind the scenes almost broke everything. Multiple sources say that things got worse when Ozzy's management reportedly tried to downplay Lemmy's part in writing the songs. The worry that recognizing Lemmy's hard work would hurt Ozzy's reputation as a musician. The partnership looked like it might fall apart for a moment. Lemmy, who doesn't usually hold his tongue, was said to be very angry. He then walks out the door and says, "You better come here, I'll fix you up." I said, "Yes, I was on my knees." Later, in an interview, Lemmy made a joke about the project's politics in the music business and people's big egos. Surprisingly, though, the friendship between the two giants won out. Both Ozzy and Lemmy knew that their friendship, which was based on mutual respect, shared excess, and an unspoken understanding of what it's like to live the rock and roll life, was worth more than praise or awards. Their creative relationship hit its peak again in 1992 when Ozzy joined Motorhead on their album March or Die. They let the music speak for itself. In the haunting ballad, "I Ain't No Nice Guy," Ozzy, Slash, and Lemmy all worked together in a moment of raw brilliance that showed how strong their partnership could be when they didn't try to hide it. Priest of Judas. And this is Judas Priest, the band that not only defined heavy metal but almost changed it in a way that would have shocked everyone in the genre. Think about this. Rob Halford, the legendary metal god, almost took over for Ozzy Osbourne. Not once, but twice in the last 30 years. It wasn't some crazy story that the tabloids made up, it was real. This was the closest thing metal ever came to losing. At the center of this crazy story is Birmingham, England, a dark industrial city that gave birth to both Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. You'd think that the two biggest bands in the city would be proud of each other and work together. Instead, they almost hit each other, making it one of the most exciting what-ifs in rock history. This situation first showed up in spiked and leathered form in the late 1990s, during one of Black Sabbath's many breakdowns. Tensions were high, the band was having trouble, and Ozzy's position was very close to being at risk. In secret, Sabbath's management brought up a crazy idea that could have split the genre in two. Rob Halford should lead the band. Some people in the know talk about secret meetings, test trades, and even practice sessions. There was some truth to the idea, it wasn't just a guess. With his sharp wails and stage appearance, Halford was the only singer who could have replaced Ozzy without being laughed off stage. Surprisingly, it almost happened again years later, when Sabbath had to deal with internal problems and confusion about who would lead the band. This time, Halford did come in for a few live shows. He famously took over for Ozzy during an Ozfest show in 2004 when Ozzy got sick and couldn't play. It was a strange moment. Halford led Sabbath on stage and played War Pigs and Paranoid with frightening accuracy. It was a look into a different past, and it worked. There were rumors of treason and the looming shadow of what could have been, but Halford and Ozzy still treated each other with a lot of respect. In fact, Ozzy never stopped liking the person who almost replaced him. From what he said in interviews, Halford can still hit those high notes, which blows my mind. He even called Halford one of his favorite metal singers. That's more than just good manners. That's respect made in the fire. That fire wasn't always hot, though. In the late 1970s, Sabbath and Priest were competing with each other more than ever. Both were at the top of the metal scene and didn't want to give up. Back then, studio engineers and producers remember hearing tense phone calls from Ozzy's camp, where people were mad about Priest's growing fame and Halford's high-pitched singing. Ozzy is said to have worked harder in the studio to keep up. This led to some of his wildest, almost crazy performances on records like Blizzard of Oz and Never Say Die. It wasn't just about who could scream louder or shred faster. It was also about identity, pride, and staying alive. Both men were not only trying to be the best, but also to be seen as important in a world that still thought heavy metal was risky, weird, and useless. Their paths crossed, and they both struggled with addiction. Both had to lead their bands through times when music was changing, and despite the chances, they both became icons. In the end, that battle between them made something stronger than competition: brotherhood. It wasn't just another talking head moment when Ozzy paid respect to Judas Priest in his video for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2022. He said nice things that were full of love and awe. It was the most honorable thing a man could do for someone he used to be afraid of being replaced by, the rock band. Get ready for one of the most shocking facts in rock history. It's no secret that Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness and the bat-biting hero of heavy metal chaos, is crazy about the Beatles. Not like, I like their early stuff kind of way. No, this is a deep, lifelong, almost unbelievable love that has been with Ozzy